Good evening, everyone. We'll get ready to start our meeting. If you'll please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, we gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us. And always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone to the October 3rd meeting. Roll call when you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo. Here. Mr. Parsons. Mr. Redding.
Here.
Mrs. Dosa. Here. Mr. George.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Mrs. Rissel.
Hey, Mr. Parsons is not here. He was, he announced last week that he wouldn't be here at last meeting. So is there anyone who would like to excuse Mr. Parsons?
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Parsons.
Okay, Mr.
Second.
George has made a motion to excuse. Mr. Redding has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Mr. Parsons is excused. You have before you the minutes from the September 19th council meeting. If you take a moment to look those over.
They sent you an email or anything?
See if anybody has any corrections or anything. Anybody have any corrections that they'd like to bring forward? Nope.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes from the prior meeting
As printed?
as printed.
Okay, Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt as printed. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. Correspondence, you have before you the police department report for September and a note from a citizen who will speak to that later in the meeting. Does anybody else have anything? We have no guests or special events, so we'll move to public input. Is there anybody here who would like to address council tonight?
I have a question, Can I ask you about anything?
Yeah, you have to come up to the podium though, Don. Give us your name and address.
My name's Dawn Walter, 7340 Elizabeth Street. My concern is not with trees. I love trees. I have a lot of trees. My concern is the penalty that goes with touching these new trees if you allow them to go on the easement in front of your house. If you opt in and something happens and you mishandle a tree and you're fined, you get a misdemeanor and a $500 fine. I had spoken to the mayor partly about the ambulance runs and how high the bills are running and how much in debt we were getting because ambulances kept running, taking people to doctor's appointments and hospitals to see a doctor, and they weren't paying their bills. And I said, well, then can't you turn them over to collection? Because I personally had to have an ambulance ride. My back went out. And he said, no, we don't do that. If they don't pay and 2 times of sending them a bill, we just write it off. So you're gonna write it off if it's on the trees? If the people say I can't afford it?
Mayor, do you want to handle this, explain it better than I can, or?
That's not the way the law is written, no.
You can explain it to me, because you don't have to pay for an ambulance, but you have to pay for a tree.
It's not a crime to call for an ambulance.
It's not,
It's a misdemeanor to chop down a tree.
Yeah,
It's in
I
the public easement.
and then you're making sure someone has a criminal record too. That's really excessive and extreme and unnecessary.
There are ways to get the tree removed if you don't want it, and it's on public property, without, you know, without any fines or misdemeanors or anything.
Which is why none of them will be on my property. There's currently 2 on my property. They asked the renter, they didn't ask us. I don't want them there, and I want them down. I spoke to Mr. Weiss, he and I were discussing it, and because of the severity of the fines, I just want them down. They're on one of our, 2 of our rental properties. And Karen is anything but stupid. She is not a stupid woman. She knew those were rentals, and she asked the renters, and I want those down. They're on Elizabeth Street.
Okay, well,
And that
apologize.
was before this became a criminal offense.
Okay. Anybody else have any to help out here?
Well, I'll just add this, I can tell you that's one of my concerns, is making sure that the right people get the right notifications to, you know, to put a tree in or to opt out. And that's, during this whole process, that's been a concern of mine, making sure that the right people get the,
This was done Monday, this was done way before all this came into effect.
Yes,
I didn't
I
even know it was there
understand.
because our residents bring us the rent. We don't go visit, and they're good people. They take care of the property. So I didn't even realize a tree had been planted. 9 months ago, a year? And like I said, they take care of the property, so I don't go down there. I don't have to go check on them. I'm not going to go check on renters, self-contained. And it caught me by surprise. I saw 2 trees there. I went, we didn't plant those trees. Then I come out and find out it might be a misdemeanor. These 2 don't because they're way before. So these 2 can just come down. Oh, no, these were before. That's an ordinance.
Doesn't matter, it applies to existing trees.
I had also spoke to Mr. Weiss, and he is aware of my problem. This was before you signed it into law. So you're saying they can't come down?
Correct.
well,
Without permission from city manager, but we just passed that.
Correct.
Joe, you voted yes for it.
yes, I did, but my only follow-up question to that is, so this wasn't passed as an emergency, right? So the law doesn't go into effect for 30 days from last council meeting?
I'd have to check with Mr. Solman on that. That might be accurate.
So those 2 trees can be taken down.
I don't know. I think we would have to, yes, but I think we need to do it the right way, right? I
I
mean,
just want them down.
okay.
So did you have this concern a year ago when they were planted?
I didn't know they were planted. No one asked me. They asked the renters. And because my renters take care of the property and they bring me the rent, I have no reason to go down there. So, no, I didn't even know.
So your property is a block away from your house in over a year?
Oh, you're going to question me how I collect my rent?
Just
Okay.
asking if you haven't
Oh, well,
checked.
well,
I'm a
good.
landlord as well.
I am a landlord, and they're very self-sufficient. They take great care of the property. We only go down there if there's a situation. There's never been a situation, so we leave them in peace.
My recommendation is you keep them. Right now, it's a misdemeanor to take it down. We'll have to check with Mr. Solman to see.
Because it's a misdemeanor is why I want it taken down.
So we'll have to check with the law director.
The law director,
Correct.
we have a law director.
Yes, we do. Had one for decades.
So it wasn't passed as an emergency, it was just 2 weeks ago, and you didn't even sign it at the time. It wasn't signed that Friday because you were out of town. So it
I
has,
did that Saturday.
so it hasn't been a month.
I'll have to check with Mr. Solman. I don't want to state something incorrectly, so I'll have to check with the law
So let
director.
me put it this way, I'm gonna ask Scott Bauer, either way, whether it's within 30 days or not, I would like those trees down because I was not asked. I do not want them. My husband and I have other plans eventually for that space. In front of our house, we have crepe myrtles. I know crepe myrtles don't belong up here. I know, but he likes crepe myrtles. I would like those trees down.
Well, we'll check with law director.
I thought I
and-
could ask you.
Well, I mean, if it's not come into effect, then you can just do it. But if it has, then I have the ability to give permission. So show me the tree and
We'll discuss
Yeah,
with the
we
tree
can
commission at
figure it
that
out.
point.
So may I suggest something? So if we just kind of step back a minute, you want them down, that's fine. They've been in less than a year. they probably haven't established great root structure. They could maybe be taken out
I
properly and
asked Mr.
transplanted.
Weiss to move it into the yard, that would be fine. And he said, well, they're probably established, they can't do that. In that case, take them down.
Well, every tree's different.
Yeah.
But I've transplanted apple trees
Right.
2 years after, and these
Right.
were, so, and they're currently growing, so.
I don't mind them in the yard. And I offered that as a solution. But apparently I have to go to the tree commission. Is that correct? Isn't that what you just said?
We are going to Mr. Solman. We will find out if this is in effect or not yet. He's our law director.
Who's on the tree committee?
No,
No.
Mr. Solman's the law director.
Mm-hmm.
We'll speak to Mr. Solman, find out if it's in effect yet or not. If it is in effect, then the city manager makes the decision. Okay, the city manager is my appointee, and we'll discuss it with the tree commission to determine the next best course of action. If it's not in effect, then yes, you can remove them right away without penalty.
I'm gonna quit arguing, I'm gonna go ahead and sit back down.
Thank you, Don.
Just,
Is there anyone else who would like to address council tonight?
one thing on the
Yes.
matter, if we can make sure we circle back with Dawn here and get her an answer.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anybody else who would like to address council? Okay, moving on then. Mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, so two things. The first one is that Terry Todd is resigning as head of the Civil Service Commission. So we'll have to appoint a replacement. I've talked to Jenny Moody because he's not resigning until the last day of the year. And I don't think it's right. Scott mentioned it as well to me. I don't think it would be right for me to make the appointment for somebody who is not going to take over until she's mayor. So I'm going to bring her on board, and she and I and Scott will discuss and start posting and looking for a position to replace. That way, everyone can be on board that's going to be impacted by it. So you'll hear more about that as we move further, because I believe it's mayor appointment council approval, if I remember right.
Sounds right.
I'll check that. Either way, we'll get the process going, but I am going to bring Jenny on board since that's who he would be working with, starting first of the year for both of them. Other thing I was going to report. Now I forget.
It's a sign of age, Mayor.
Meant to write it down, I know, right? No, I'll come back during new business if I remember. There are, we're being inundated with wedding requests all of a sudden. Got to warn Jenny about that. There's 3 already for October, so, yeah. So I'll take care of those. Man, there was something else. I'll come back during new business when I remember.
Okay, any questions for the mayor? Okay, city manager's report, Mr. Scott Bauer.
All right, let's see, homecoming's coming up this Thursday. I forget the exact details, but we're gonna plan to have a fire truck in the parade, so that's exciting. The union contract negotiations, so hopefully at the next meeting, the 17th, I'll have the police department, there's a patrol officer union, and then the sergeants have a separate union. I will hopefully actually have those to present to council for you guys to review and hopefully approve. Those went well. Let's see, I did put these guys on your desk. These are the levy mailers that we, or door hangers that we used last year, updated with current information. So I mean, don't want to talk about it now, but at some point, if we're happy with the way these looked, again, it's the same that we used last year. For what it's worth, my wife looked at it, said it had way too many words, so maybe we want to trim it down. I don't know. We can kind of talk about that. Good news from SORTA, the Harrison project was approved. So that's Harrison Avenue from Kemper all the way on the bottom up to Compton Road. So that's, I don't know when it'll start. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2025, but that's been approved by SORTA. And then county block grants, I believe those open up next week. Bob had asked about our block grants. There's a 3-year window, so that opens up next week, and we'll There's a million different grants you can apply for. A lot of them are very specific, but, you know, hopefully there's a bunch that we can be eligible for and apply for. That's all that I have.
Okay, questions for Mr. Bauer? Okay, thank you, sir. Finance Director's report, Melanie. Melanie is not feeling well. She went home today. So we'll skip over to the departmental report. Mr. Lawson, Fire Department Chief.
A couple things. From July to September, we did 461 EMS runs and 42 fire runs. Some sad news, we did not get the assistance to firefighter grant for the pumper. So we'll have to move on with that. We still are in the process for the SAFER grant, which would, we asked for 2 career firefighters. So if we get that, we'll have to deal with that if we do get it. Let's see. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Nope, none from me. Anybody else?
What about fire inspections? How are those going?
Fire inspections, so far we've done 55 this year, and there's 219 businesses that we could do, but some of those businesses aren't occupied. So this year 55, and trying to get them done as many as we can. Some the violations are minor, and some where we have to work with the businesses to get things worked out.
You have a question?
Has there been any work or meeting with the PD and the fire department on doing inspections, bar inspections for occupancy rates?
We have, but we have not had any issues since the old pit to plate business. What was that business called? Where
Suite
we had
31.
the problems with.
Suite 31?
Sweet
No,
30.
Suite 31. What was it before that?
Game time.
Oh.
Take call.
So we had some issues there, but by the time we got the fire department and the police department together, kind of take care of that, they shut down, and we really haven't had any major problems with crowding since then.
Okay, so.
Stadium bar.
But we
that's what it
have
was,
the stadium bar.
Stadium.
Yes, thank you. But we have a procedure.
Yes.
And policies in place now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If the police request, they see that it's overcrowded, they will call us. We will go down there, and we have counters and everything that we need to see if they're overcrowded. If they're overcrowded, they get shut down. And then, it's kind of like a warning for them. But we definitely want to work with the people, so hopefully be, don't do it again type of thing.
Okay, so first time's a warning, is that?
Yeah. And then if it continues, then fines take place.
Okay. And that would also include any public venue, correct?
Such as,
Say wedding receptions or something like that?
yes, yes.
Right, okay.
We're going around to like the Eagles, American Legion, and just making sure that their halls are properly marked. It's been a while since we've been through their places. So I know we just updated the Eagles and what their occupancy can be in the hall. So, yeah, we're trying to get all the bars, but also all the other businesses.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the fire chief? Okay, moving on then. Ordinances and resolutions. We have two ordinances for first readings tonight. The first ordinance is number 23-2022, an ordinance assessing cost of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency.
I didn't have time to get any kind of information together on these, but I think it's all pretty normal stuff, just going and cutting the grass for them.
Do you need these passed tonight to get it onto the bills?
Right.
Onto the tax bills?
That would be appreciated.
Questions or comments, council? I would ask for a motion to suspend the two reading rule.
I just want to make sure I got my ordinance correct here. The first one, 22, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Could I make a motion to suspend the two reading rule?
Yes, sir.
Second?
Mr. George has made a motion to suspend the two reading rule. Mr. Redding has seconded. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo? Aye. Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, two reading rules been suspended. Are there any questions or comments yet before I ask for?
Make a motion to adopt
Oh, you got jokes.
ordinance 23-2022.
Mr. Rennie has made a motion to adopt. Ms. Rissel has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo? Aye. Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Aye. Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 22-2022 is adopted. Next ordinance, first reading, an ordinance assessing cost of the removal of litter, rubbish, and garbage and declaring an emergency. They also want this passed tonight so we can get onto the tax bill.
Yeah, 7205 appears to be vacant, so just trash that's kind of accumulated there. And 8000 Hamilton is, that's back in the Pines. It's one of the trailers back there, bunch of trash.
Okay, any questions? What was your,
I was going to make a motion to suspend
okay.
ordinance 23-2023.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to suspend.
I'll second.
Mr. Young has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Aye. Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the two reading rule has been suspended on ordinance number 23-2023. Questions or comments?
Just like to make a motion to adopt 23-2023.
Mr. Redding has made a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Rissel? Seconded.
Mrs.
Raise
Lingo?
your hand.
She's quicker than you
Lingo.
are tonight.
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Aye. Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 23-2023 is adopted. That is all the ordinances and resolutions that we have. So we go down then to old business. What do we have for old business, council? Mayor?
About 10 minutes old, but we emailed the law director, so we should hear back soon and let you know. I just did that.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Mr. Reddick.
Under old business, I think we probably need to discuss, like, so since the tree commission has been a commission for a while, we probably, and it's more active, I think council should discuss about what reports we'd like to see from them and what timely, and in what manner, monthly reports or something like that, so we stay abreast of exactly what's going on. Any future tree plantings, stuff like that. I think they're planting trees in the wetlands, which technically really isn't the city's property, I don't believe. So,
It's the state. It's either the state or the county.
yeah, I thought, yeah. So, so just items like that, keep us abreast of those kind of things. What the trees are that they would like to have removed, the trees that are being planted, just everything, and, with inside their suggestions, since they're, and again, they're a commission, they're not a law-making body, so, so just something to think about.
I know Karen used to do quarterly reports.
Well,
She
they
wanted
still
to.
do quarterly reports. Remember, they used to do monthly reports. And
Right.
it was council that asked them to stop doing that.
Did you-
So you may
Yes,
get some
or-
frustration from them
Well,
that you told them
that's-
not to come, and now you're telling them to come again.
Well, that-
I'm sure they'll be happy to.
Well, that was, yes. And again, I'm just asking for council's input on, what it would look like, especially,
I'm just trying to refresh your memory. They used to
Yes.
come monthly. Council was tired of them coming monthly, so council requested a change that we have monthly reports from the department heads, and that the commission only comes quarterly. And they've been very diligent about coming quarterly.
They have.
yes, and I would agree with you, except now
Change
their role is kind of expanding here, right? They're getting additional funds from
I'm not
grant money
disagreeing, I
and
just
from,
want to remind you of
Yep,
it
so-
was your choice that they didn't come.
Yeah,
yes, it was recommended to council, yes.
yeah.
So just something to think about for next council meeting.
Okay, very good. Anything else on old business, council? New business.
I have new business. I remember what I was gonna talk
Remember?
about. So I've been very, very active with We Thrive. That's largely what we've been doing. You heard we got the $10,000 HEAL grant earlier this year that was completed, $8,000 for the wetlands. We had another $3,000 for Love and Actions events that they had up here in the park. So we just applied for a big one for $30,000 for kind of resurrection of the zone program, which was very, very successful when it was around before for the after-school program. Jacqueline has been working with the Alliance to resurrect it. She's already been working with the schools with really no funding. So we did just apply for that. We got notice back from the county that it is under review right now. We should hear back within a week or two. But the expectation is that we will get it. We were pretty much told if we apply for less than 35,000, we'll get it, and we applied for 30. So keep your fingers crossed, but it'd be great to have that after-school
be
program
wonderful.
back. So that was the other update. I just submitted the paperwork yesterday and already got contacted back by the county. So that was the thing I forgot about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Forgot about $30,000.
Yeah, yeah. Happens.
Okay, any other new business, council? None?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Ms. Lingo's made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
No, I'm not doing anything.
Second,
Nobody wants to adjourn?
They're bickering over here. Okay. Mr. Redding has seconded it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved or carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.